Hey guys, welcome to another online math class. This video will be about inequalities in one variable, and by the end of this lesson we should be able to sketch an equality, be able to sketch an inequality when boundaries are included, and also be able to sketch an inequality when boundaries are not included. Let's just pause the video here and take a couple of minutes to write these down. Alright, so starting off with our first goal on plotting an equality. So an equality is something like x equals 3 and it's plotted as shown on the right. So we've done a few of these when doing linear graphs. So it's essentially a straight line, and every point on the line x equals 3 has the same x coordinate, in this case which it is 3. However, the y value changes along the line. So as we run across this line here, as you can see, the x value always stays at 3. However, the y value is changing as we move up and down on that line there. So just keep in mind that a graph where x equals something is always going to be a vertical line. So x equals 1 might be over here, will look something like this. And x equals -1 will look something like that on the left there. So just don't get this confused with the x-axis, because the x-axis runs horizontally from left to right. Some people think an x equals graph will also run horizontally, but however, it actually runs vertically there. So that's an equality. Hopefully that's just a bit of a recap from our last topic. If you're still having trouble with this, just let me know in the Google Meets and I'll be more than happy to help you. Otherwise, if you're all good with that, we'll be moving on to plotting an inequality. So plotting an inequality, just like graphing an inequality on a number line, we need to be careful about whether the boundary lines or the end values are included. So we've done this with a number line before, like that. And on the left there, we can see -2 is not included, whereas 8 is included there. That's shown with that equal sign at the bottom. So if it's not included, we didn't shade in the endpoint, that circle, to show that it wasn't included. However, if it was included, we shaded in that point to show that that point was included. So we need to do something similar when graphing this on a Cartesian plane. So on the left, I've got boundary included, and on the right, I've got boundary not included. So that's x is greater or equal to 3, and in this case, x is just greater than 3 and not equal to it. So when boundary is included, the solid line, we use a solid line there, that represents that the boundary is included. However, if it's not included, we use a dotted line. That shows that that point is not included. And the region that fulfills this criteria is shaded in blue. So that's the required region there. And just some points that satisfy that is 5, 6, or 4, -1. And that satisfies both these graphs there. So key difference is when boundary is included, we use a solid line. When it's not included, we use a dotted line. Otherwise, let's move on to an example question. So this says on the coordinate plane, or that means a Cartesian plane, plot the graphs of y is smaller or equal to 4, and y is greater than -1 and smaller than 3. As first step, start off by sketching a Cartesian plane. So I'm going to have my y-axis going up and down, and x going left to right. And so y is smaller or equal to 4, so I'm just going to draw that point in, and it includes the boundary, so I'm using a solid line, and the required region is going to be below there. So key points here is just stating the boundary there, y equals 4, using a solid line to show that the boundary is included, and shading the required region. Once you've got those, and once you've labeled the axes, you will get full marks for this. One thing I forgot to add was the origin. Just make sure you've got the origin there too. Next question, question B. So once again, just start off by sketching a Cartesian plane there. The x-axis, the y-axis, and the origin. Make sure you always include those. So in this case, y is bigger than -1, so I can draw that in there. And it doesn't include it, so I'm going to use a dotted line. So that's y equals -1. And it's smaller than 3, also doesn't include that. So I'm going to use a dotted line there too. And just make sure you label that, y equals 3. Once you've got that, just shade in the required region. So there, that's the region that fulfills that criteria. Once you've got all those, you'll get full marks, and that's just a rough sketch there. Just make sure yours look a little bit neater than that. Otherwise, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all back online.